Bulking and cutting are not really necessary for most people's fitness goals. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this is one of these topics that 10 years ago I would have completely disagreed with. In fact, it's a topic I made videos on in the past in which I'm going to say the evidence would say that I'm wrong. Okay, and I think that we need to be able to do that as we mature and as we gain knowledge. Stuff I've observed as a coach, looking at all the various modern evidence, the studies looking at nutrition, sports nutrition, all those things, it starts to become apparent that bulking and cutting outside of, say, a competitive environment, or obviously people who need to lose weight, really isn't something that we need to do to any great extent. And I want to be clear, we are talking about fitness people. We're talking about people who already lift, they already work out. We're not talking about people who need to lose weight. Because when we think of a cut is not, oh, there's a person who's obese and starting out. Okay, that's actual just weight loss. That is someone who needs to lose weight for health purposes, everything else. They literally need weight loss, okay, because they are way overweight. And let's say they carry more body weight than they will ever have at a healthy body fat, even if they gained a ton of muscle. Okay, makes sense. That's weight loss. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about bulking and cutting. Now, are we going to say that maybe someone who's got contest lean needs to gain a bit of weight because they can't stay absolutely shredded and they can't keep the water weight down because they usually drop water and everything near the end? Right? Of course they need to gain a little weight. Right? So these are kind of the exceptions. And it's the same when it comes to, say, someone who says, hey, well, I mean, I do carry more body fat than I'd like. Do I need to bulk and cut? Well, maybe you should cut, okay? Cut down to a body fat you're happy with one time, right? But do you need to do bulking and cutting back and forth? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that no, you don't need to do that. Because when we look at the data, a large enough surplus to gain significant fat just isn't required to gain muscle. Okay? It's not required. It's not required to maximize muscle growth. That's what the data is showing. That in other words, a very, very small surplus, we're talking one where you gain like a pound a month. Literally a pound a month. About 400 grams or so for those who don't use freedom units. Gains just as much muscle as someone who gains triple that. What they do is gain a lot more fat. It's like 90% fat. See where we're going with that? But they're not gaining any more actual muscle. They're not gaining any more muscle. And it used to be the idea, well, you're just spinning your wheels then. And I used to say that. I used to incorrectly say that. And guess what? I looked like not that great. Compare how I look now than when I used to tell people that. What's the difference? I look a hell of a lot better now, closing in on 50 than I did years ago saying that. Is that not a fact? When I lost that mindset? You know, and then people say, well, you might, but you have all these studies that show that recomposition is possible. How many different studies do we have? Nutrition studies, lifting studies, all this stuff on people who are already experienced lifters. Have we seen dozens and dozens of studies where test subjects can currently gain some muscle and lost fat at the same time confirmed on DEXA scans? Protein overfeeding studies, certain lifting studies where the protocols are done. Have we not seen those studies where the people body weight changed very little, they gained strength, gained muscle, and their body fat went down a tiny margin? You know, it would literally be sometimes, oh, they lost 100 grams of body fat on the DEXA scan. I mean, they gained 1 kilo of body weight over whatever months in that study. Have we not seen all those? Does that not confirm then that recomposition happens? We've seen the same thing where very small amounts of weight have been lost in lifting studies and high protein studies in which the person gained a small amount of muscle. So what does that tell us? That tells us that if you're cutting very, very slow and your training is dialed in, protein's high, diet's good, that you can gain a small amount of muscle. So does this mean that bulking and cutting are strictly not necessary? In other words, as long as you're fairly close to maintenance and your training is good Your protein intake is good. Your nutrition is good. Will you technically spin your wheels? No. You'll either gain or lose a very small amount of body weight, and your fat loss versus muscle gain will be biased in the direction of the scale. So if you lose a little weight, you'll probably gain less muscle, but lose more fat, and so on. So essentially, unless someone is really, really lean, all the available data says small amounts of recomposition is possible year-round. So what does that mean? That means that if you just do that and you don't gain or lose much weight, you will consistently, over the course of months or years, just look better and better. You will gain muscle and you will lose fat. So what about then a person who says, well, okay, so you need to cut one time. Okay, so you cut down lean enough to see your abs, or close to, and then you recomp. It doesn't have to be, oh, I stay at exactly maintenance. You could be up or down a few pounds here or there, back and forth. As long as you're staying real close to that, you'll probably recomposition. And if you eat a little bit more over years, you might gain a little bit of weight. Okay, so you might be up 5 pounds in 3 years, but you'll probably be at a lower body fat. See where we're going? It works. It works in the lab. It works in the real world. I know coaches who've said it. You can say my bro Beata said, like, dude, just if you just progressively gain tiny amounts of weight over the course of the years, and you start pretty lean, you'll just stay lean. You'll just stay lean and you'll get more and more jacked. It's all that's required. So in other words, unless you're going to get ready for a show, you can just stay at your body fat and actually possibly shift body composition, even the percentage, slightly more positively without ever bulk or cut, and just make lean gains. It's doable. And I used to say we couldn't do this. So I want to be clear. I am correcting myself, saying I got it wrong. Best experts will say I got it wrong. The real world shows I got it wrong. Plenty of people do it all the time. We've been caught up in this paradigm that is absolutely essential. Then you have people like Starting Strength push that, tried to claim, oh, you can't technically separate them, but then they all got fat. How many of the people they coach got fat? How many of their coaches got fat? That's the problem. That's what ends up happening. We can stay lean, and how many people stay close to their contest weight? How many even serious pros stay closer? How about Lee Haney? Didn't he promote that? I think he had a pretty good physique. I think he knew what he was doing. He pulled it off. Plenty of even natural people pulled it off. It's been done. It's been done over and over and over. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.